Right. Once a common ground has been established and you feel semi-comfortable with where you're at with your block settings, there's going to be a lot of adjustments and getting your body accustomed to this position and the requirements of you from this position. So it's always easy just to run, but you've got to deal with gravity and the fact that you're at a different angle. So rewinding back a sec, once you're in this position and you place your blocks where you want them, you're going to do a drill where a great coach of mine, Mike McFarlane, taught me one block, no block. So I found my position. Don't be afraid to move your hands. Don't worry about the line for now. So got used to this positioning myself here. It's getting used to the pressure on this left foot. It's a great way to introduce athletes at a gradual level. And I mean that by literally going through all the drills that we discussed and I've shown you. So with that in mind, one block, foot on the block, position yourself and get used to this coming up. Get used to that, and you then take this out, you then put the back one in. Your focus is now driven from here to here. Coming to the set. This is going to feel awkward, it has no support, so you're going to rely quite heavily on the back one. Completion of this drill or this exercise for me would be doing a number of runs. I would do maybe 3 or 4 on the front, 3 or 4 on the back. Encourage the athlete to go away, just do a couple of laps walk, maybe do another exercise. So new process of information, time to be saturated. If you're constantly feeding, then you imagine feeding yourself tons of food, you're not going to have time to digest. So the same principle applies to what you're doing with information with a new technical event. So you can't feed too much. Sometimes less is more. So with that, let them do a few, let them go off. Let them go off. Bring them back, do the other foot, let them go off. You allow them time to think. You allow them time to go and daydream and imagine how they want to do it. Then when they come back, then try it double-legged. Then you allow them to unravel it in the wrong way. Say, allow them time to express themselves without you peering over them. Too much pressure, allow them to express themselves. Because ultimately, when they're on that start line, you're not there with them. You can't help them no more. So this is the definitive thing for me as an athlete and coaching advisor. When I watch, athletes are very reliant upon their coach. And I see that as an Achilles heel. It's a sticking area for me. I feel that a coach's job is to enable the athlete to go out there and fish for themselves. You're a teacher effectively. You want to teach that individual the ability to stand on their own feet, whether in sport or outside of sport. Allow them to make their own decisions. Not be like, coach, what? Dash, where that? They don't need that. Allow them to think for themselves. Anyway, I'm venting. Passionate. Another topic. Height. How high do I come up in the blocks? Again, this is a very, very good question. I like getting asked these questions because it challenges me to think, how can I provide bits of information that enable the athlete to figure out what's the best position for them? I want to use the analogy of a teapot, not these modern brawn kettles that you've got that you can see the water inside and it all flashes and it's got lights and all that. You can see all the lime scale. I don't want to use them. I want to use the old-fashioned teapot. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. I know you heard that song. I mean, I'll sing no more. Anyway, your bum is the handle. Your head is the spout. And if you don't know what a spout is, go look in the dictionary. The spout is your head. Your bum is the handle. When you want to tip the hot water or the contents of the kettle out into a cup or a mug or a flask, you tip it. You effectively are going to be doing the same thing. So whenever you're doing blocks or anything like this, effectively become a teapot. You go through your process of setting up as quickly but as safely and efficiently as possible. You want it to be quick but not in a hurry. So you're going to set your feet. You're going to get them where they want to be. Place your hands where you want them to be. Some people have them quite narrow. Some people have them quite wide. The wider you will be, the lower stance you will have. The more narrow, the more compact you're going to be, which is going to keep your arms in a more narrower action as well. The more wider, you have a tendency to cross, to counterbalance yourself. So you have to be very careful how you place your hands. I now think, okay, teapot. My head is the spout, my bum is the handle. If I want to pour tea out of my head, I'm not going to throw myself up like this, which is what a lot of athletes do, which effectively forces them to come up. If you think of a plane doing that, a plane would be running along the wrong way and then suddenly have an upward direction in motion, which will cause your passengers to have whiplash and they'll get sued. So I don't think any of the airlines will be flying their planes like that. So you got to think the same. You're in. Feet, decide on where your hands are going to be, get comfortable. Clear your mind of any other rubbish. I'm a teapot. If I want the tea to come out, I'm going to tip it out. Simple action. Your bum is the handle. Tip the tea out of your head. That's going to force you to move forward. Reinforce this position as your athlete develops and as you as an athlete develops. You want to, where experience will start to kick in and fine-tuning at the elite level starts to kick in, you then target the best trajectory for yourself. And that's typically dictated by sometimes how well you sit in the blocks. Most of the time it's dictated by where your knee is positioned. Typically, if your knee is here and you come to the sit, you want your body to follow the line of your knee. If you are here and your knee is at this height, it's going to stay there. When your body comes up, you want your body to follow the line of your knee. So sometimes if you have a low knee angle, sometimes it typically forces you to drive at a low digging degree. And what I mean by digging, sometimes you can almost figure skate to get yourself out of the position that you're in. So sometimes, and a good friend of mine told me, you're better off to clear high than to clear low. If you don't understand that, drop me a text, comment, and I'll explain that to you. When in the blocks, this is where this mechanism can and will become your best friend. You want to be able to establish a firm holding position on the block. When you're in set, you want the pressure to be on the block and not on your hands. A lot of athletes, when getting used to being in this leaning position, find a lot of pressure on their shoulders, their neck, and their fingers especially. You want your pressure to be applied to the block itself. Putting pressure on the block is the equivalent of having a spring that you're compressing. You find its sweet spot where you feel that when that gun goes, you're going to explode. If you go too less, you're not going to get much from it. If you go too much, you're going to have a tendency to want a full start. Not that you want a full start, but to hold that tension, that pressure, that degree of explosiveness is very difficult. So you find a happy place for you that with repetition over and over again, you shouldn't have any problems. So you typically get in. Once you find your happy place, you press back into the block. Again, feet, hands, clear your head of any rubbish. You should have no rubbish going into your head prior to the start of a race. And if you do, again, send me some comments. I can help you with all of that because I've got various tips and suggestions on how well to clear your mind when in sticky situations like this. And it's very difficult to hold your mind when you've got a fast athlete here. In fact, this whole line is just filled up with the fastest athletes in the world. How do you keep your composure? We'll talk about that another time. Alright, feet. Put them where they're comfortable and happy. Hands. Clear your mind. Subconsciously, you're going to move as a teapot. You're not going to be thinking about it, but with repetition, you will do so. Once you come up backwards. You have the right amount of pressure in the block. You won't go any higher. If you don't have any pressure in the block, you're going to be kind of loose and go forward. So think about the pressure that you can feel when you're in this position here, when you're in the on the marks position, when you get into set, you keep that pressure. Some people may be asking, how do you keep the pressure? Whatever effort you put yourself into when you place your feet on these blocks, when you place your feet there, the tension does not change. It shouldn't change. And effectively, when you are there, the amount of pressure they put on it is going to have a ricochet effect. You're going to push off of them. Effectively, you're going to push back. Or effectively, think about pushing away, pushing the block away. Another drill that we should have talked about earlier, again, teaching athletes to get full extension. I do this drill here. I'll put my foot on the top, getting the athlete used to extending. when you extend, you try not to toe too much, because that's going to leave a dragging action for one, and two, you're setting up a bad action for when you want to run, which is going to result in that happening. You push off and toe, you're going to be coming up like this, which is going to extend like this. So with this drill, you learn to push and pull up. Effectively, you're here, you push. Good. Push. Then we'll be done with the back.